VCY America presents Crosstalk, a nationwide call-in program discussing issues that have an effect on our families, our communities, our churches, our nation, and our world. Crosstalk, an opportunity for you to voice your concerns for biblical principles. And now live by satellite and around the world on the internet at vcyamerica.org. Here is today's Crosstalk.
Well, thank you, Mr. Morris, and good to have you with us today. Have we got a program for you? We've got all kinds of vital stuff we need to share with you. If I can indulge just for a moment our Wisconsin audience, because we happen to have our own network, but I realize and recognize, although I find networks with us, but I do need to remind our Wisconsin people that are within driving distance. I will be at the Douglas Bible Church of Endeavor, Wisconsin. They're sponsoring, or they're the host to a VCY Sunday night Singspiration coming up this coming Sunday night at 6 p.m. It'll be at the Oxford Elementary School, 6 p.m. in Oxford, Wisconsin. And we have 90 minutes of glorious gospel songs, and I hope many of you can, if you're within driving distance, can be there. We'd love to meet you. That's this coming Sunday night, Oxford, Wisconsin, Oxford Elementary School, 6 p.m., and 90 minutes of great song and joy and praise to God. Okay. Now, that kind of cooled me down because when I turned that microphone on, I was steaming. We have stuff that is going on in the state of Wisconsin, but all of you need to hear about this. Many people across and many agencies and organizations are being, in my estimation, my opinion, attacked by an aggressive and very militant atheist group, which has been known over the years as Freedom from Religion Foundation. And as I've said before, anytime you have a name that says freedom from something, it's obviously a very activist position. If you say freedom from religion, now let's interpret that into just the commercial everyday world. We say freedom from insects or bugs. Well, then you're trying to annihilate those bugs, and so you bring in the Orkin Man. And that's not meant as a commercial, but it's you're trying to annihilate the bugs. But when you say freedom from religion, could we assume that it means annihilate Christian faith? Religion? Freedom from religion? Well, the organization has been very aggressive out of Madison, Wisconsin for many years and has some leadership there, which I'm sure they're very sincere in what they're doing because they hate religion, at least in my opinion. And the issue, as we look at this, of course, now, a press release that's just come out here this week in Wisconsin, Wisconsin Atheists to organize state lobbying group this month. Washington, D.C., rather, the Secular Coalition for America is excited to announce the initial organization efforts for a chapter in Wisconsin this month. The state chapter will lobby state lawmakers in favor of a strong separation of religion and government. And the initial organization call, or the organized call, for the Secular Coalition for Wisconsin will be held September 9th. That's Sunday at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. And this group will encouraging interested participants to call in. Participation is open to anyone who supports a strong separation of religion and government and wants to get involved, irrespective of personal religious beliefs. So there's another aggressive move in Wisconsin to, as we say, of the Orkin Man, to stamp out bugs. Well, could this be interpreted to the same trend of freedom from religion? I don't have the answer. All I know is that there's aggressive moves on this plane, and we're finding this happening in many areas. Now, Mr. Biden has made, well, let's put it this way, Vice President Joe Biden thanking gay rights advocates Sunday for advancing not just their own civil rights, but also the civil rights of every straight American. So says Mr. Biden, you are freeing the soul of the American people, said Joe Biden, to loud applause during a stop at Provincetown, Massachusetts, according to a Pool report. Now, Mr. Biden honed in on the LGBT issues during his campaign speech at Pilgrim Monument and Museum, which is located in a prominent gay community in Cape Cod. And he said, if I had to use one adjective to describe this community, it would be courage, said Biden. You have summoned the courage to speak out, to come out. We owe you. Well, that's the comment of Joe Biden, the Vice President of the United States. Well, Provincetown is not strange to this lifestyle. Many will remember Tony Campolo, who's an evangelical preacher, he and his wife, it was her writings that told this story. She said, Tony and I enjoy taking small airplanes going up the coast and watch the whales as we go to Provincetown. And because we like to go to Provincetown, she says, not in spite of their lifestyle, but because of it. Now, that was the wife of Tony Campolo, Peggy Campolo. Now, obviously, you have these lifestyles and the advocates and the supporters of it. But now we see Joe Biden joining in with his comments. Now, we were talking about the atheistic emphasis or the anti-God emphasis. And for the first time, groups of atheists, humanists, and freethinkers have been given official recognition at the nation's military academies, at the United States Air Force Freethinkers, the Naval Academy Freethinkers and Atheists, and the West Point Secular Student Alliance all had tables at the Academy Club nights. Between 40 and 60 cadets and midshipmen are participating in each group. Challenges continue at the academics and throughout the military, but official recognition for cadet groups makes possible privileges, funding, and for the first time, the simple comfort that Academy leadership is tolerating non-theistic beliefs. Let's call it atheism. That's what it is. And so you see, on goes the tsunami. Now, while we're talking about military, I had a phone call from a good friend in Florida today who's a veteran, a man who has given to protect our country, and a man who loves America. But he said one of the things that concerns him with any election, especially the one upcoming, is what provision is there for military people to vote? Because there's been a lot of debate when they were tried in one venue to extend the voting period so that the military people could get involved. There was great resistance from the administration that said we weren't in favor of adding those extra days for the military. Now, these people are willing to give their life for our country, and yet we're going to restrict them because many of these military people have to move heaven and earth practically, I speak non-literally here, to get their schedule set up so they can vote, can be at a polling place. Well, may I read this to you? This is interesting. Half of military voting assistance offices are not working as the law intended, this report found. The CNS News reports that the U.S. military personnel and their families are not getting the kind of assistance with voter registration and absentee ballots that federal law envisioned, says a report from the Defense Department's Inspector General. Under the 2009 MOVE Act, that's 2009 MOVE Act, the U.S. military was directed to establish voting assistance offices on every military installation, except for those in war zones. But the August 31st report says our attempts to contact the IVAO's, that's the Installation Voting Assistance Office, failed about 50% of the time. The DoD, Department of Defense investigators posing as military personnel tried to contact every one of the voting assistance offices using contact information provided by the military's Federal Voting Assistance Program. To begin with, the list of 224 voting assistant offices itself was incomplete, omitting a number of installations. Then the investigators said that they were able to contact only 114 of the voter assistance offices, and of those, I should say, they were unable to make contact with another 113 of the 224. They contacted 114, but they weren't able to contact another 113. We concluded that the services had not been established in all of the offices, the installation voting assistance offices, as intended by the MOVE Act, because among other issues, the funding was not available, the report said. The law did not authorize additional funding to establish the offices. So the Department of Defense officials also expressed concern about the effectiveness of the voting assistance offices. They noted that younger military personnel were the biggest Department of Defense military population segment, and emphasized that this office was not likely the cost-effective way to reach out to them, given their familiarity and general preference for communicating online, social media, and obtaining information from websites. Interesting stuff. It goes on, but again, here the Department of Defense is concerned because, well, they're saying half of the military voting assistance offices are not working as the law intended. This, the dateline, September 6, 2012. Now, some of you will recall the story that we carried here on the air about a little girl who had a physical and emotional problem. I believe she's autistic. And what had happened is that they found in a little bag that she was carrying what looked like a portion of a charred page from the Quran. She was condemned to death. 11-year-old Christian little girl. Interesting. Pakistani authorities now believe a mosque leader planted the evidence used to accuse Rimshah Masih of blasphemy. The blasphemy case against a young Pakistani Christian took an interesting turn this week when public arrest of a Muslim cleric for allegedly placing false evidence in the girl's bag. According to deputy mosque leader, testimony on Tuesday, the whole series of accusations started when Masih's accuser came to the imam and indicating that the young lady carried a plastic bag that he claimed contained the ashes of an Arabic schoolbook that Masih had burned. The accuser said that Christie then, the investigator said that Chisti, C-H-I-S-T-I, Chisti then mixed pages of the Quran with ash from the other book to make it look like she had burned the Islamic holy book. I asked why he was fabricating the evidence, said one involved in the case. He said this would ensure a strong case against the girl and ultimately would help them evicting Christians from the locality. It would help them evict Christians from the locality. Now that sounds like a real holy motive, doesn't it? We'll be right back. This is Crosstalk.
Back to Genesis with Dr. John Morris, scientist with the Institute for Creation Research. Dr. Morris, do all miracles violate natural laws?
Chris, we might divide miracles into two categories. Grade A miracles are those that actually violate natural law, like the multiplication of the fish and bread, or turning water into wine, or life returning to a body which had been dead for several days. There are no natural processes which would do these. They required a supernatural grade A miracle. Now, grade B miracles are where God providentially arranges circumstances to fit his precise plan and timing. These would include finding a donkey tied up just where Christ said it would be on Palm Sunday. These are not miracles of creation, but they are miracles of providential timing nonetheless. God, the Creator, has the authority to supersede his natural law when he chooses, for his purposes and to his glory. He established that right back in Genesis.
For a free information packet on creation, call 1-800-7-GENESIS.
And welcome back to Crosstalk. Many of us have heard of George Gallop and the Gallop polls, and they have a very scientific way of sampling the public opinion of various issues. But CNS News has an interesting insert here. The Gallup poll indicates President Barack Obama enjoys a massive lead over Mitt Romney among registered voters who say they have no religion, according to the Gallup tracking poll of the presidential race. Again, I'll repeat that the president enjoys a massive lead over Mitt Romney among registered voters who say they have no religion, according to the Gallup poll. Now, in the 3-week period that ended September 3, according to Gallup, Obama led Romney 69% to 23% among those who have no religion. Now, they picked out this special group, and they said that Obama, the president, led Mr. Romney by, he led Romney by 69%. Now, this was exactly the same result that Gallup got in the previous 3-week period that ended August 26. Now, since Gallup started publishing demographic breakouts of its tracking poll on May 6th, the president has always had a large lead among registered voters who say they have no religion. Even so, he's managed to grow that lead among those who have no religion. Now, again, that poll is on a specific group out of the population. In the 3-week period ending May 6th, Mr. Obama led Mr. Romney 63% to 27% among registered voters with no religion. Interesting observation. Just thought you'd like to know. Now, I'm looking at an article here. Ben Johnson with LifeSite News indicated that critics say that the 2012 Democratic platform is the most anti-life document that the party has accepted to date. The Democratic Party platform, which delegates formally accepted on Tuesday, recognizes a woman's right to obtain a, quote, safe and legal abortion, unquote, regardless of ability to pay, an endorsement of taxpayer-funded abortions. What we're seeing in the abortion industry, that the lobby is taking over an entire political party, said Elizabeth Graham, the director of Texas Right to Life. The Democratic National Committee revised the platform calls for unrestricted abortion on demand at any time during pregnancy. At any time during pregnancy. And on the taxpayer's dime. That's been the abortion lobby goal all along, says LifeSite News. Interesting. Well, we've got some interesting sounds to share with you. Some of us have been hearing the debate and the comments about at the Democratic Convention, which certainly has been an active place, and we've heard lots of views expressed. But the issue of whether or not God had been asked, or removed rather, that he had been taken out of the platform. Now, this big debate has gone on. And, of course, at first it appeared that this had happened. And all of a sudden, well, let's go back to the platform and the controversy and listen to a special cut that we have here. It runs about 3 minutes and 20 seconds. But you'll hear the debate because they were trying, the move was by a clergy that was there to put God back into the platform. But we find there was, it was up for a voice vote. And they needed 3/4 of the people to respond in order to get God back into the platform. Well, this is a voice vote, so you hear the yeas and the nays. You be the judge if you were the person standing at the podium. Listen to this story.
The chair recognizes the delegate from Ohio, the chair of the platform drafting committee, former Governor Ted Strickland.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman, I move that we suspend the rules to permit an amendment to the platform adopted by this convention last night.
Governor Strickland has made a motion on the floor to suspend the rules. Is there a second? A motion to suspend the rules to permit the amendment to the platform has been moved and seconded. This is a non-debatable motion requiring a two-thirds vote. All those in favor of suspending the rules, say aye. All those opposed, say no. In the opinion of the chair, there's been a two-thirds affirmative vote to suspend the rules. Governor, would you like to make your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This summer, I was proud to serve this party as the Platform Drafting Committee Chair. As the chair, I come before you today to discuss two important matters related to our party's national platform. As an ordained United Methodist minister, I am here to attest and affirm that our faith and belief in God is central to the American story and informs the values we've expressed in our party's platform. In addition, President Obama recognizes Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, and our party's platform should as well. Mr. Chairman, I have submitted my amendment in writing, and I believe it is being projected on the screen for the delegates to see. I move adoption of the amendment as submitted and shown to the delegates.
A motion has been made. Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, the matter requires a two-thirds vote in the affirmative. All those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. In the opinion of the... Let me do that again. All of those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. I guess.
You've got to rule, and then you've got to let them do what they're going to do.
I'll do that one more time. All those delegates in favor say aye. All those delegates opposed say no. In the opinion of the chair, two-thirds have voted in the affirmative. The motion is adopted, and the platform has been amended as shown on the screen. Thank you very much. Thank you. Governor Strickland, thank you again for your service. Governor Strickland, thank you again for your service as chair of the Platform Drafting Committee. Now, everyone.
You heard it. They were booing the decision. And this was to put God back into the platform. You heard it. And you heard the issues. And this man had to go back 3 times to try and get a solution. And I'm not too sure I was watching the VU meter here, which measures the intensity of the sound. And those who were in favor of putting God back into the platform and affirmation on the other move, those registered about 100 on my meter here. Without changing the level, the second group who were against bringing God back into the picture registered 110. Now, I'm not sure that says anything, and from a technical standpoint, we in broadcasting, I guess the needle just simply tells us who has the loudest voice. But you see the hostility toward Christianity, toward God. Now, because that had been left out of the plank and the scurry to make a change and bring things back, well, the issue, as I'm looking at it, the president now very quickly has made a proclamation. The proclamation dealing with prayer. Now, bear in mind, in previous national days of prayer, or the National Day of Prayer, the president may have signed the document, but no, he would have a dinner for Ramadan and the Ishtar dinner, but there was never any function in the White House dealing with prayer. But I'm holding in my hand something that came through from the White House directly to my machine today. And this is the president's comments. The President of the United States, a proclamation. I'm going to read it as quickly as I can. 11 years ago, America confronted one of the darkest days, the events of 9/11, 2001. brought the collapsing of the towers in Manhattan and the billowing smoke at the Pentagon, wreckage on the Pennsylvania field, and deep ache in the souls of a nation. Nearly 3,000 innocent people lost their lives that morning, and still more gave theirs in service during those hours and the years that followed. All were loved, and none will be forgotten. One of those days of prayer and remembrance, we mourn the terrible swiftness and stand with their friends and family, honor the courageous patriots who responded in their country's moment of need, and with God's grace rededicate ourselves to a spirit of unity and renewal. Those who attacked us sought to deprive our nation of the very ideals for which we stand. But in the aftermath of this tragedy, the American people kept alive the virtues and the values that make us who we are and who we must always be. Today, the legacy of September 11th is one of rescue workers who rushed to the scene, firefighters who charged up the stairs, passengers who stormed the cockpit, courageous individuals who put their lives on the line to save people that they never knew. It is also a legacy of those who stood up to serve in the armed forces. In 11 years since that day, more than 2 million American service members have gone to war. They have volunteered, leaving the comforts of home and family to defend the country that they love and the people that they hold dear. Many have returned with dark memories of distant places and fallen friends. Too many will never return at all. As we mark these solemn days, we pay tribute to those men and women who made the ultimate sacrifice in faraway lands, to heroes who died in the line of duty here at home, and all those who keep faith in the principles of America's sacrifice that will always be the source of America's strength. Now, here it is. On September 11th, 2001, in our hour of grief, a nation came together no matter where we come from, or what God we pray to, or what race or ethnicity we were. Let me repeat that. September 11, 2001, in our hour of grief, a nation came together no matter where we come from, what God we pray to, or what race or ethnicity we were. We are united as one American family. This weekend, as we honor the memory of those we lost, let us summon that spirit once more. Let us renew our sense of common purpose, and let us reaffirm the bond that we share as people, that out of many we are one. Now, therefore, I, Barack Obama, President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim Friday, September 7th, through Sunday, September 9th, as National Days of Prayer and Remembrance. I ask that the people of the United States honor and remember the victims of September 11 of 2001 and their loved ones through prayer, contemplation, memorial services, the visiting of memorials, the ringing of bells, the evening candlelight remembrance vigils, and other appropriate ceremonies and activities. Invite people around the world to participate in this commemoration. And witness thereof I have hereunto set my hand this 7th day of September, in the year of our Lord, 2012, and of the independence of the United States of America, the 237th year. Signed, Barack Obama. Whoever God you want to pray to. We'll be right back.
Is America on a collision course with God? In the book, As America Has Done to Israel, author John McTernan indicates there is a direct correlation between the alarming number of massive disasters striking America and our leaders pressuring Israel to surrender her land for peace. Costing hundreds of lives and causing hundreds of billions of dollars worth of damage, dozens of disasters, including devastating earthquakes, raging fires, hurricanes, floods, and tornadoes, have hit America, and always within just a short time after putting pressure on Israel. The book not only points out the correlation to these events, but also gives guidance as to what you can do as an individual, and what America can do to change the direction of our country in relation to Israel. Copies of the book, As America Has Done to Israel, are available for a donation of $17 or more to VCY America, and can be obtained by calling 1-800-729-9829. That's 1-800-729-9829.
And welcome back to Crosstalk. We talk about the issues. We talk about statements from each of the parties running for office. We are not here to endorse any candidate. It's not our position. We will talk about their belief system. Your conclusions are yours, whatever you want to do about it. You have to make the decision because you're an American. I had a letter that came to me this week from a person who accused us of endorsing an individual and that VCY America had gone soft on Mormonism. And I want to make it very clear that VCY America believes that the teachings of Mormonism are absolutely against the Bible. They are a cult in our views. The beliefs of Mormonism, the teachings of Joe Smith and all of the other people that followed him, we believe that their Bible teaching, whether they call themselves the Church of Latter-day Saints, that happens to be their identification. We do not identify with that, and I, without hesitation, say that their doctrine is in error. We are not here to endorse one or the other. We will give you quotes and comments about the circumstances and the voices that come from them and those things that happen around about them. But to the individual who was very wrathful, or I should say angry or upset and providing curses against us, that we do not endorse Mormonism. We in America are going to have to make decisions, and we pray that God will guide us. And if any of you out there would like to run for presidency, let us know. In the meantime, we're going to go back here to another issue. Of course, we saw this strange reaction when they had removed God from the platform, and also that Jerusalem was the capital of Israel. Both of these items had been removed. And all of a sudden, mysteriously, they come back. All of a sudden, the president comes forth with a proclamation that a prayer proclamation, however, it covers all bases, whichever God you pray to. But this issue of God and Jerusalem being the capital of Israel, that is a very serious issue to many of those. Now, I have a kind of a shocking statement because the Democratic National Delegate from New York, he's the let me back up. From Palm Beach County, the Democratic chairman, Mark Allen Siegel, told a reporter who represents a television network and the Tea Party News Network that Christians hate Jews and want to kill them. I want you to listen to this. This is the soundbite. Here it is.
I'm Jewish. I'm not a fan of any religion other than Judaism.
So you're not a fan of Christianity, who truly tries to protect the Jewish faith?
No, the Christians just want us to be there so we can all be slaughtered and converted and bring on the second coming of Jesus Christ.
Now, wait a minute. Now, where do you get that?
Let me finish. They're not our friends. They want Israel to pursue policies which are antithetical with its security and existence. The worst possible allies for the Jewish state are the fundamentalist Christians who want Jews to die and convert so they can bring on the second coming of their Lord. It is a false friendship. They are seeking their own ends and not ours.
You sound like you're the opposite of anti-Semitic. You're anti-Christianic?
No, I don't believe that the fundamentalists urging a greater Israel are friends of the Jewish state.
Now, you heard that. The guy's name is Mark Allen Siegel. He happens to be the Palm Beach County Democratic chairman. And you heard what he said. Now, just a couple hours ago, I called my good friend, Rabbi Abba Leiter, who happens to be an Orthodox Jew. Now, Abba Leiter has, when we were talking about Israel, has had direct line to Israel and has come into the studio over 20 years and gave us information about what's happening in Israel. He understands that we are Christians, born-again Christians. And his words to me very clearly, he said, Vic, I believe that born-again Christians are the greatest friend that Israel has. Now, that came to me right here in this studio from Rabbi Abba Leiter. He calls me about once a week, giving me an update of what's happening in Israel. But when I heard this statement by Mr. Mark Allen Siegel, I called Abba. And this being Friday, of course, Friday evening, they begin their Sabbath. But I said, would you give me a soundbite? And he gave me more than what I'm going to play for you, but the important part is right here. I want you to hear what this Orthodox Jewish rabbi has in response to Mr. Siegel, who claims to be a Jew.
My response to this young man at the convention who claims to be Jewish is that he doesn't know what he's talking about. He obviously doesn't have any friends who are of, the Christian faith, of which I have quite a few, besides yourself. I have friends, evangelical Christians down in Kentucky and all over that I've had a chance to get acquainted with and talk to about all types of issues, and they're wonderful people. And they're very strongly behind Israel, and they are upset tremendously what this administration is trying to do to Israel for the last 3 years, that is to encircle them with the greatest group of terrorists in every nation which is around Israel. Mr. Obama and his administration have enabled the worst of the worst in these nations, Hamas, etc., to encircle Israel. And I don't understand how this gentleman who's talking about the Christians, he's worried about them. He should be worried about what Obama is doing. He is completely off of his rocker.
Comments from Rabbi Abba Leiter of Brooklyn, New York, responding to the comments made by the Democratic chairman from Palm Beach just a bit ago. Now, there was one other soundbite. In fact, there are two incidences where some violent language was recorded. First of all, Karl Rove from the Republican Party made a comment that was rather frightening, and is reaping a whirlwind on this, because Phyllis Schlafly and others have really spoken out on his comments, making reference to a congressman. How did he put it? Well, here it is. Amid the growing chorus of Republican and conservative demands for Karl Rove to remove himself from the GOP campaign, of efforts after the strategist jested about the murder of Representative Tom Akin, Americans now petitioning Mr. Romney to dump Karl Rove. Now, he had made a statement suggesting, the Rove had disgraced himself by joking about the murder of a member of the U.S. House. And he had indicated that if this man were killed, don't come looking for me, meaning that I'm not going to go further on his comment, but it was very inappropriate. And so we have a Republican who has made some pretty defamatory statements and has reaped a whirlwind of condemnation from his party. And then we have a delegate from the convention in New York, and we'll listen to that cut right now, because this delegate here is someone who has something along that same line to say.
My name is Julia Rodriguez. I'm from Puerto Rico, but I live in the Bronx, New York, for the past 40 years.
I'm from New York, too. Not too far away. Yeah. Are you better off now than you were 4 years ago?
I believe that 40 years ago, yes. And if I tell you, Rodney will destroy this country. He became president of the United States. No, I think he will destroy this country completely. Romney will destroy this country. I don't believe him. If I see him, I would like to kill him.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. We appreciate it.
If I see him, I would like to kill him. This from a delegate at the Democratic Convention. The power of the tongue and the destructive element, and I don't care which party it is, tongues loose on both ends, and perhaps not even committed or connected to what's above them. Well, we see the power of the tongue to condemn. We see the confusion that's going on. And I guess my question is, what do you think? And we're going to open our phone lines right now and give you a chance to call 800-733-9829. The lines are open for your comments on any of these items, what you're hearing, what you're seeing. And we welcome your calls, 800-733-9829. And we'll recognize your calls as they come in here with all the flashing red lights. And there goes line 1. And it probably won't be long until line 2 lights up. And all the red lights, there goes number 2, number 3, and number 4. The lines are jammed right now. But as soon as we clear one call, I would ask that you call in, put it on your auto dialer or speed dialer, and press the button and get right on there with us. We'll be happy to take your call. Keep it short and to the point because we're coming up at another break. But in this fast-moving hour, there's room for your comments. Keep them respectful. Keep them to the point. We don't have a lot of time for people to pontificate, but your comments will be of interest today as we watch what's happening. And by the way, as we look at Israel and listening to Brannon and Jimmy DeYoung just today, the fact that there was a high-level meeting with Benjamin Netanyahu and the security forces in Israel, and one of those high-ranking individuals from this secret meeting leaked the information. And at this moment, there are efforts to reduce this as Mr. Netanyahu was angry with an individual who leaked to the press security information that could be damaging. Well, let's go right now to Mike in Bayview, Wisconsin. Mike, you're on the air. Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, Vic. Boy, I'll tell you, we've got to straighten out that leaking things from Israel. We are praying for Israel, the Christians, and I urge everybody to pray for Israel. I don't know where this guy's getting his information.
Well, it's whatever the political issue or whatever, it certainly was distressing to hear.
It is. And as far as this country not being able to get our servicemen and women who are giving their lives on the line to get their votes straightened out, I hope they remember that when Obama wants them to turn on us. It's terrible the way this thing's going.
Thank you, Mike. Appreciate that. Got to move right ahead to Hartford, Wisconsin. And Phil, you're on the air.
Hi.
Yes.
My comment is concerning the last clip, the delegate who made the comment that if she saw Romney, she'd like to kill him. Now, whether you agree or disagree with any of the politicians, my question is, why haven't they gone after her legally? If I
believe that
comment like that about the president, I would be in jail immediately.
We understand that the military or that the federals have gone after her, so certainly worthy of an investigation. But what a statement! Thank you, Phil. We're going to have to come back on the other side of the break. Thank you for calling. And Minnesota and Florida and Wisconsin still on the line. We'll be right there after the break. Appreciate your calls here on Crosstalk.
For the Worldview Weekend Minute, I'm Brandon House. Our website is worldviewweekend.com. Continuing on our series of What is Real Spiritual Warfare, we've learned from 2 Corinthians 10:3-5, Ephesians 6:17, that real spiritual warfare is not railing at demons, but it is battling for the hearts of men and women, boys and girls, by destroying arguments raised up against the principles of the Lord, proclaiming the gospel, biblical truth. John MacArthur writes, Christians who verbally confront demons waste energy and demonstrate ignorance of the real war. We are not called to convert demons, but sinners. The battle is rather with the false ideologies men and demons propagate so that the world believes them. Paul further defines sinners' strongholds of ideas as every lofty thing that is, any biblical system of thought, exalted as truth, that is raised up against the knowledge of God. There is the key. Spiritual warfare is not a battle with demons. It is a battle for the minds of people who are captive to the lies that are exalted in opposition to the Scripture. For Worldview Weekend Minute, I'm Brandon House.
And welcome back to Crosstalk. Many of us remember the story of what went on in Iraq, and of course all the criticism of going after Iraq with weapons of mass destruction that some claim never existed, ignoring the fact that there was evidence to prove that those weapons had moved into Syria. I mean, we're talking about weapons of mass destruction. These are chemical weapons, weapons that are deadly, that can kill thousands of people. And now we find that there's a relationship that has been and appears to be going closer and warmer, where Syria and Iran are at, some have called them joined at the hip. And so the question of concern as to what's happening, just another item to be aware of. Let's go quickly to Zeke, who is in Minnesota. Zeke, what part of Minnesota?
I'm in Ham Lake.
Where is that?
Ham Lake, it's in Anoka, close to Anoka.
Good. What would you like to share, Zeke?
I was at the Minnesota State Fair last weekend, and there was a young man in his 30s, scuffy-looking, clean, not shaven, and he was wearing a T-shirt that said, "Eliminate Christians, one bullet at a time."
Yeah. Yep. But you do that, wear that same shirt and put the name of another ethnic group on it, and you'd have him in jail.
Yeah, well, he was just walking around, and nobody said anything. We just hung our heads and said a prayer for him.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for sharing that, Zeke. Let's go to Steve in Florida. Steve, you're on the air.
Thank you, Vic. I've got friends that are just thinking that putting Mr. Romney in the White House is going to save this nation. No occupant of the White House is going to save this nation. We're too far gone.
Steve,
Obama is evil. Obama is evil.
Steve, somebody said, don't ever expect the Lord Jesus Christ to come back aboard Air Force One. Regarding what party, doesn't matter.
Mr. Obama was groomed, and it's proven already for decades by ruling elite, and he was shepherded and protected and sealed all his records. And God, Almighty God, allowed him to become president and occupy that White House. We embrace homosexuality. We kill babies. We're killing citizens of sovereign nations with drones. And I could go on and on, but I'm not. For my friends and for the members of this audience that believe that putting Romney into the White House, an evil, reprobate Mormon, especially I'm talking right now to born-again Christians as myself, you will answer to Christ one day. Obama is evil. Mr. Romney is evil. You can't vote for either one. I had this discussion repeatedly with my friends. It never turns into an argument. I pray for them. I fast. And I'm bleeding in my heart. How many people in my nation that I served in the military from Vietnam to the Gulf War, and I'm disabled, people are fasting, going without meals for meals, for days, for weeks, whatever it takes. I don't think too many, Vic. People are feasting and playing. They're not fasting and praying. And let you go.
Thank you very much, Steve. Your comments. Let's move ahead to Blue River, Wisconsin, and talk with Bill. Bill, you're on the air.
Well, I'm going to take the thunder from your previous caller, Steve. He's a good man, and I believe a lot of things he says. But I was disappointed in the Republican convention how they stole Ron Paul's thunder by handing him a speech that they delegated for him to say what they wanted him to say. I'm really appalled with that, and I turned the TV off. I'm sick of these delegations because there is going to be no difference.
Okay. Thank you very much, Bill. Appreciate your comments. Anthony in Milwaukee. Very quickly, your comments. Call us 800-733-9829. Got a vacant line. Keep them coming.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Yeah, thank you for taking my call. I have a question for you. Do you think the Republican Party is moving to the left? And I'll listen to your comment. Thank you.
Well, sir, we'll let that comment out here to our audience because that's what Crosstalk is all about. Do you think that the Republicans are moving to the left was his question. And let's go right now to Wade in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin. I've got a vacant line, and so get online and call us. Wade, you're on the air.
Hi, Vic.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I wanted to, every time I call in, I got to just give you guys a lot of credit for the great ministry of ECY going forward. Just a lot of great information, putting a lot of stuff out that's relevant and just amazing, amazing stuff. What I wanted to talk about, have you guys talked about the 2016 Obama's America movie?
We haven't talked, aside from mentioning it, our policy here is never to promote. Okay. Our policy is never to promote a Hollywood film wherever it is or whatever it is. If people decide to see it, that's your business. But aside from it, the fact that it is very revealing, and some of the clips you have seen on television, certainly what is in that is very stimulating.
It doesn't bash him. It's not for him or against him. It's just more information behind why he does the things he does and why he thinks the way he thinks, and why, like policies like, for instance, that cut thousands, probably tens of thousands of American jobs with the Alaskan pipeline all the way through, but yet spending billions of dollars with oil production in Mexico, Brazil, and supporting the give back of the Falkland Islands to Argentina over the British.
Wade, thank you so much. We're so short on time, and I appreciate your expressing your views today. One has to ask, of course, are people aware? And they're using a film to fill in details. My question is, so much of the population today doesn't take the time to read, doesn't take the time to listen, doesn't take the time to be informed. That's one of the reasons on Crosstalk we try to bring information to you. You are going to have to make your decision where you stand on the issues. We will bring the good, we'll bring the bad, we'll bring the confusing, but we need to pray for wisdom, God's wisdom. And the Bible says, if any man lack wisdom, let him ask of God. And these are confusing days. Voting, all of these issues, looking at the spiritual framework of our leaders, looking at their political views, looking at their economic views, looking at their social views, looking at their moral views. All of these things are important. And I think it's so important that and there are churches that can legally, all churches can legally use a voter information guide. Does not tell you who to vote for. These are available through many fine organizations, among them, I think, Liberty Counsel and others, that have them available, and it's perfectly legal. You just do not tell somebody who to vote for. But voter information, doesn't the Bible tell us, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge? And I think it's important today that that verse also inspire us to be knowledgeable and wise and able to respond with a godly response. Pray that God will give us wisdom and give our leaders wisdom and deal with those that are wicked and strengthen those that are righteous. Thanks for joining us today on Crosstalk, and have a blessed weekend. Again, we look forward to meeting friends up there in Endeavor and Oxford Sunday night at 6 p.m. That's it. Thanks for joining us.
You've been listening to Crosstalk via satellite and the internet from VCY America. Views expressed may or may not be those of this station. For a CD of today's program, send a donation of $6 or more to VCY Take Ministry, 3434 West Kilbourne Avenue, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, 53208. Or download by RSS or podcast from crosstalkamerica.com. And join us again for Crosstalk.